We're going to get right to it, man. Apparently, there's a new statue in town. And when I say in town, I mean in Times Square. We're going to just get right to it. All right. Let me know y'all thoughts as we go through this.
A new statue in Times Square we're told, turning heads. It's making people not only stop and stare, but also reflect. A rare feat in the middle of one of the busiest places in the world. Zinnia Maldonado shows us why.
At 12 feet tall, in the middle of Times Square, stands a bronze sculpture of a young woman.
It's instantly stood out. It's powerful.
It's so tall and big.
The sculpture, created by artist Thomas Price, was unveiled at Duffy Square last week, and in just a matter of days, it has stopped hundreds in their tracks. Who is she? Well, technically, she's whoever you want her to be.
Me being a plus-size black woman, I kind of looking at it was just like, oh, I wonder what me as a small child would have thought looking at something like that. Representation.
The piece is part of a series called Grounded in the Stars, which Gene Cooney, director of Times Square Art, says confronts preconceived.
Hold on, give me a second. Y'all know I try to play the entire thing through. However, I gotta stop there. Hold on.
Thought looking at something like that. Representation.
The piece.
Representation. All right, so I'm going to play the entire thing through. I'm going to try, and then I'll come back and we'll go through it, chop it up as we always do. All right, let's get to it.
A new statue in Times Square we're told, turning heads. It's making people not only stop and stare, but also reflect. A rare feat in the middle of one of the busiest places in the world. Zinnia Maldonado shows us why.
At 12 feet tall, in the middle of Times Square, stands a bronze sculpture of a young woman.
It's instantly stood out. It's powerful.
It's so tall and big.
The sculpture, created by artist Thomas Price, was unveiled at Duffy Square last week, and in just a matter of days, it has stopped hundreds in their tracks. Who is she? Well, technically, she's whoever you want her to be.
Me being a plus-size black woman, I kind of looking at it was just like, oh, I wonder what me as a small child would have thought looking at something like that. Representation.
The piece is part of a series called Grounded in the Stars, which Gene Cooney, director of Times Square Art, says confronts preconceived notions of identity and representation.
To have this work here is making a statement, potentially asking questions about what we value as a city, as a society, and hopefully it's a tribute to our shared humanity.
Tourists and New Yorkers we spoke with expressed different interpretations of what she represents to them.
It's a plus-size woman. I'm a plus-size man. I'm African-American. It's the African-American woman statue. So just seeing another piece for me to stop and just have a moment with was very powerful.
If you look at the eyes, it's looking straight at something. It's focused. It's purposeful.
The sculpture proves to be a well-liked juxtaposition placed among the more traditional statues in Times Square, which is the goal, according to officials, of placing said artwork in such a significant area.
Coming from a person of color background as well, it's really nice to see something come across as like this everyday person that looks a little bit out of place. But I also think that's because of where we are standing. It might not look out of place if everything in our surrounding reflected everyday life more to us.
From Times Square, Zinnia Maldonado, CBS News, New York.
Damn. Yo. Let's go back through it. I want to break down a couple things that I saw in this interview. I want to break down a couple things that I saw in this. Let's go back through it again. There's a couple things that I want to respond to in this news story. All right, let's go back through it. All right, boom. We'll rock out over here for this one.
A new statue in Times Square we're told, turning heads. It's making people not only stop and stare, but also reflect. A rare feat in the middle of one of the busiest places in the world. Zinnia Maldonado shows us why.
At 12 feet tall, in the middle of Times Square, stands a bronze sculpture of a young woman.
It's instantly stood out. It's powerful.
It's so tall and big.
The sculpture, created by artist.
All right, first and foremost, I just got to be honest. I didn't see the gentleman, no disrespect, but if I'm reading it correctly, he seems to be more of a more emasculated man. Just being totally honest. I'm just being real. We got to be real. I did not see one black man outside of the gentleman that I'm speaking about who was interviewed about this statue. And I think that's very interesting and very telling. And let's keep going. Let's keep going. I gotta be honest, yo. I'm just being honest. If the brother's not, I'm not saying that the brother's gay. I'm not saying he's not gay. I'm just saying he seems to be more of a feminized guy, or I don't know the proper term. Yeah, y'all saw it. Let's keep going.
Thomas Price was unveiled at Duffy Square last week, and in just a matter of days, it has stopped hundreds in their tracks who wish.
And the reason why I bring that up is because we know that there's a strong connection between Black women, that community, and the LGBTQ community. It just is what it is. And I just thought that it was interesting that they couldn't find or didn't find or just didn't put on camera a Black man who would give his opinion on this statue of a Black woman, aside from the gentleman that we saw. It just seemed, this is what we always see. This is what you see represented in the Democratic Party. It seems to be more of a emasculated man, right? Black man, emasculated Black man. And then it's the strong Black woman, the other women of different backgrounds. You saw the woman, I don't know what background she came from, but she was a woman of color, celebrating this Black woman, even though I guarantee you, if there was a statue of a woman, let's say from that woman's background and heritage, I don't think she would be cool with an oversized, obese model being given the statue in Times Square, being celebrated. The white woman celebrating and supporting. This is what we see. This is a representation to me, or I was going to say representation of the Democratic Party. It just is what it is, man. This should not be celebrated in the way that it's being celebrated, because it is truly a matter of life and death. And we're going to go over some of the stats when it comes to obesity and Black women being overweight. And we're going to compare them to Black men being overweight, non-Hispanic or Hispanic people, their numbers with obesity and being overweight, as well as white and as well as Asian. This is a matter of life and death. And a lot of other cultures would never allow people to play with their people like that, to celebrate somebody that is living an unhealthy life, if we're just being honest. Now, people will say, well, there's nothing that says that if you're overweight that you're unhealthy. Well, actually, yes, there is. I know you may be the anomaly, or you may have a friend that they got tested or and they were overweight and their numbers came back fine. And then there was somebody that worked out in your family, or a friend of yours that worked out all the time, ate healthy, and they died early of a heart attack. We have to make decisions, or at least understand that just because it's an anomaly does not mean that we can use that logic across the board. And we do that a lot in life. We do that with our lived experience, right? A lot of how we view the world and a lot of the decisions that we make, whether it's politically or anything else in our day-to-day life, we only see it through the lens that we've had, through our own lens, through our quote unquote lived experience. We'll prioritize that without even taking into account the majority, the masses, and their perspective. So we get a very limited perspective on how we're seeing things. This is just like the lady, the Black lady who's getting ready to speak. She said that, oh, I just think back to what the younger version of me, a little girl, would have looked at this statue, or how it would have looked at this statue, being that she's a plus size woman and I'm a plus size woman. Because she said something about representation. Well, yeah, that just goes to show you how strong representation can play a role of influencing the masses. Maybe that shouldn't be celebrated. Maybe it should be celebrated to have somebody that represents more of a healthier woman, because then other people would aspire to be like that healthier woman. And rather than what's very hard for people that are overweight and do want to lose some weight, something that they've told me, or you tell me in your experience, is it can be very hard to break the habit of making excuses as to why you're overweight, rather than just doing the things that are necessary to get back to a healthier weight, working out, changing your eating. Let's just start there with those two, right? But now when you see a statue and it's being celebrated of an obese or overweight woman, what is that? What is that going to do? That's pretty much condoning, celebrating, appreciating, saying that this is okay. This is exactly what happens with Black culture. When it comes to the hip hop community, I fall victim to it as well. What do I mean? We celebrate the things that are negatively impacting us in society. And when you call it out, you'll get called the Uncle Tom, not rocking with your community, a traitor, all this other stuff. Come on, we got to do better. We got to do better. We got to do better as Americans, because America overall is unhealthy, but specifically Black women. Black women have the highest obesity rate of any other group. Think about that. Let's keep going.
Is she? Well, technically, she's whoever you want her to be.
Me being a plus size Black woman, I kind of looking at it was just like, oh, I wonder what me as a small child would have thought looking at something like that.
She's taking pictures of it. She's saying what she would have looked like.
Looking at it was just like, oh, I wonder what me as a...
This is what I mean by celebrating and appreciating. I mean, if you're just appreciating the art, the artistry of, oh my God, this is a beautifully crafted sculpture, then that's one thing. But what she's appreciating is the fact that there's a 12-foot representation of who she sees herself as in New York City, now being accepted by the busiest city, the biggest city in the world. Like, that's not like this. Oh man. Oh God. Let's keep going.
Small child would have thought looking at something like that. Representation.
The piece is part of a series called Grounded in the Stars, which Gene Cooney, director of Times Square Art, says confronts preconceived notions of identity and representation.
To have this work here is making a statement.
Preconceived the Stars, which Gene Cooney, director of Times Square Art, says confronts preconceived notions of identity and representation.
Confronts preconceived notions of identity and representation. What exactly are they confronting? And my apologies if I mixed up the words quoting it. What exactly are you confronting? Confronting it would actually be having somebody healthy. Clearly, there's a problem in the Black community overall when it comes to health, obesity, being overweight, out of shape, right? So confronting the problem would actually be pushing people, which everybody's scared to do, right? Everybody's scared to comment on, hey, being in shape, not being so overweight would actually be healthier. That's unhealthy how you're living. But instead, what are all the stores doing? I go to Nike. Nike is adjusting. They got the plus size model. I even went to, I think, a golf store. I got the shirt right over here. Trevor Matthews, one of my dad spots, and they had the dad bod. They actually had a dad bod. What is it called? What is it? What's the name of the sculpture, not the sculptures, yeah, the mannequins. They had a dad bod mannequin. Now you go into Nike, you got the plus size mannequins, you got the plus size women on the wall. I get all that to maybe encourage people to get into working out and all that. So I get it from a Nike standpoint a little bit more than I get it from this standpoint. Like, this wasn't, she's not wearing workout clothes. So even if you're condoning or looking at what Nike's doing and saying, well, you know, I can kind of see that. Okay, cool. I'll give you that. But this, nah, this is not that. This is not confronting a huge problem in the Black community. And I feel that a lot of other cultures, you know, here, this white lady, you know, perfectly fine. She's celebrating. But I feel like a lot of people that celebrate plus size women, they don't even realize that what you're celebrating is somebody being unhealthy. I think that they just are so turned off by maybe society and the world and maybe being judged and all this other stuff. So they're just like, oh, be free, be all this stuff. A lot of that be free stuff is, we'll see how free you are when you have to limit your activity based on your obesity, or limit your activities when we get older because you're unhealthy and out of shape. Nobody wants that. But when I say it, it's coming across like, oh, this dude's an a-hole. No, I care, bro. I care. Condoning this stuff, celebrating this stuff is not cool. Let's keep it moving.
To have this work here is making a statement, potentially asking questions about what we value as a city, as a society. And
potentially, it's a statement, potentially asking questions about what we value as a city, as a society. I agree. What do we value? Do we value our health? Or do we value our freedom, or whatever we call it? Everybody wants to be free, but when you actually look at what it takes to be successful, is it being free or is it actually being disciplined, having some sort of structure, having some sort of standards?
And hopefully it's a tribute to our shared humanity.
Tourists and New Yorkers.
A tribute to our shared humanity. People use all of these, try to make it spiritual, try to make it kumbaya-ish. Nah, this is not that. In my opinion, this is just my opinion. This is simply celebrating an unhealthy culture and celebrating the most unhealthy and, well, let me say the most obese demographic of Americans, Black women.
We spoke with expressed different interpretations of what she represents to them.
It's a plus size woman. I'm a plus size man. I'm African American. It's the African American woman statue. So just.
And to be clear, when I say the most obese demographic, you may be able to categorize. I'm talking about when it comes to race. When it comes to race, gender, all right?
Spoke with expressed different interpretations of what she represents to them.
It's a plus size woman. I'm a plus size man. I'm African American. It's the African American woman statue. So just
listen to what the brother's saying. He's pretty much saying, I love this because it's plus sized. It makes me feel more comfortable being plus sized. So I love this unhealthy statue because it makes me feel more comfortable being unhealthy. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of other adjectives we could use to describe this statue, and y'all be saying, well, why are you just saying it's an unhealthy statue? Yo, it's a problem in our community, right? And what's so funny is we got no problem saying, oh, police are killing Black kids. So the solution is we're going to talk about Black Lives Matter, right? Because that's the problem. Black Lives Matter is going to address the problem. But then you got an issue when people say all lives matter, because the actual problem is we're talking about Black kids being shot and killed. Okay, cool. Let's use that same logic here. There is a problem amongst Black women specifically and amongst Black people in our communities when it comes to our health. It's a huge problem. Obesity is a huge problem. So therefore, let's stay on this, right? Let's not try to be accepting or look for what this gentleman seems to be looking for, acceptance or appreciation for them being plus size, do the other. Nah, this is a specific problem, and it would be nice to have a specific answer to that problem, or at least some sort of pushing in that direction and addressing it. You cannot address. This is something that it seems like we can't even talk about. Like the nerve, like that lady said, it's a representation. So now little kids are going to see that and grow up thinking that, oh, it's cool to be plus size. That's fine. We should accept everybody the way they are. Like, I remember that Dank DeMoss, the girl that tried to sue the Uber driver because the Uber driver said, hey, you can't ride in my car, that she needs to request a bigger car. She was on the Breakfast Club talking about the world should adapt to her. The world should adapt to her. So I guess we should have bigger seats on the airplanes. And Dank DeMoss, she didn't seem like, when she said adapt, she didn't say, oh no, for the same price. They should be specific for plus size people. Like, come on, man. This shows up in so many different areas. We've created victims out of people to now we're celebrating something totally unhealthy. We've created victims over in so many different areas, but just talking about this, right? Obese people feel like they're victims. So now they're pushing back on being healthy or at a healthier weight. Now they feel that they should be able to tell society to adjust to them. Should society be adjusting to things that are unhealthy? Maybe y'all think so. Maybe y'all think so.
Seeing another piece for me to stop and just have a moment with was very powerful.
If you look at the eyes, it's looking straight at something, it's focused, it's purposeful.
The sculpture
If you look at the eyes, it's staring straight at something. It's focused, it's purposeful.
proves to be a well-liked juxtaposition placed among the more traditional statues in Times Square, which is the goal, according to officials, of placing said artwork in such a significant area.
Coming from a person of color background as well, it's really nice to see something come across as like this everyday person that looks a little bit out of place. But I also think that's because of where we are standing. It might not look out of place if everything in our surrounding reflected everyday life more to us.
Ruby can say whatever she wants, but her culture wouldn't celebrate obesity like this. I don't think. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, right? Cool. Everybody's getting a little more progressive. All right, cool. Everything, cool.
Look out of place if everything in our surrounding reflected everyday life more to us.
From Times Square, Zinnia Maldonado, CBS News, New York.
All right, so some of y'all may think I'm being insensitive. My apologies if it's coming across that way, because I'm really not trying to be insensitive. I just don't understand. I care. I don't understand. Take a look at this graph. Take a look at this graph. Non-Hispanic white women, 32.8%. This is obesity. So this is not even overweight. This is obesity. Hold on. Let me look at the difference. What is the difference between obesity and overweight? Let me just see. Overweight and obesity are both conditions of excessive weight, but they differ in degree of weight and potential health risk involved. Overweight is defined as a BMI between 25 and 29.9, while obesity is defined as a BMI of 30 or higher. So body mass index. Okay, cool. So just wanted to have that. All right, let's get back to. All right, so I just wanted to know. So now you guys know exactly. Yeah, and it says BMI over 30, at or over 30. So when you look at this chart, white women, black women, Hispanic women. And matter of fact, I want to go to a different chart because, hold on. I want to go to a different chart on here because I also want to include Asian women. Hold on. Well, let me zoom in. Maybe not. All right. We'll stay here. Hopefully you guys can see it. Let me make sure. All right. So when you look at this chart, the reason why I wanted to play this one is because look at Asian women, 17%. Matter of fact, Asian men, hold on. Asian women are 17.2%. And this is, I want to make sure that this is obesity. So this is obesity, not overweight. So this is BMI at or above 30. 17.2 for Asian men, for Asian women, and 17.5 for Asian men. Hispanic is the light green. So Hispanic is amongst the women, it's 43.7, and then amongst the men, 45.7. So for the Asian men and women, as well as the Hispanic men and women, it's pretty much the same. Now let's look at, so this is the dark blue is white. So this is white men, this is white women. So that's a bigger disparity between white men being at 44.7% obese and white women being at 39.8. And then when we look at black, so this is that grayish blue color. Black men are at 41.1%. So black men are actually doing better when it comes to obesity than Hispanic men and white men. Black women are at 56.9. And I'm going to be honest, some of these other numbers that I looked at said that it was a lot higher, but 56.6 seems to be consistent. So that's what maybe they were factoring in the overweight rather than just obese. This is not okay. This is a problem. Why don't people care? When people care, you're able to have those uncomfortable conversations that may come up, but that can help you. All right, that can help us. There was one sentence in one of these that I wanted to take a look at. And one of the things when you go through this, I'm going to challenge everybody we kind of talked about all this, so we can stay over here. One thing that I'm going to challenge everybody to do is go look at some of the reasons in these charts as to why they're saying Black women are obese. And even look at why Black people, look at some of the things that it says. They're making up all these, I'm not going to say that they're making up all these excuses, but a lot of the things that they're talking about seem to be giving people excuses. They're saying like, oh, not the same access to this, not the same access to that. Look, we got to figure it out. There's no reason, and more specifically, there is absolutely no reason, hold on, for Black men to be at 41.1 and Black women to be at 56.9. And let me be clear, I put a lot of that on Black men. All right. We need to be passionate about making sure that our women are healthy, right? It's not fair for us to neglect our women's health, to not push that in our community, not push that in our culture as the leaders in our community. So I'm always going to place blame on men first and foremost, just being honest. We're the leaders. We're the leaders. But ladies, if we're the leaders, y'all got to follow that lead. All right. So there's maybe not everybody's willing, maybe not everybody in your family or friend group is in shape to where you feel like, hey, we can follow them. But clearly, based on the numbers, when you compare 41.1% of men that are not that are obese compared to 56.9% of women that are obese, let's start following some of the lead of the fellas. Now I saw even some stuff up there talking about pregnancy and all this other stuff. What's funny is women are getting pregnant less now than they were back in the day, and this obesity epidemic is worse now than it was back in the day. Back in the day, you never saw this type of stuff. You never saw this with, listen, man, we got to get it figured out. We got to get it figured out. That's pretty much it. We got to get it figured out. We got to get it figured out. Hold on, let me show y'all real quick. See, I had it in the background, dope little background. Not sure if y'all peeped that, but let me know if y'all are in agreement with me. Maybe not. Am I seeing something a little bit wrong? I'm always open to being wrong. So give me your perspective. Let me know how you feel, and let me know some solutions that we can take. Write down in the comments some solutions that we can take to help this issue, rather than just going along with it, whether you're Black or you're not Black. All right. Rather than us just celebrating this, why can't we look at it as, hey, this is a problem. This is not only harming people, it's killing people, it's having people die early, not be able to have a better quality of life, all these different things. We should care about that, right? All right, so let's do some work as a community so we all can get better. This is something that we all can work on. So let's embrace it. So y'all know what it is. Make sure that you like, make sure that you subscribe. And I already said, leave a comment, maybe share with some friends and family. And on that note, I shall see y'all soon. Ew.